Happy Monday, everyone, and thanks so much for coming back for another edition of KSLA News 12 Investigates ArkLaTex Uncovered. It is good to be back with you all. Hope you had a great first week back to post-holiday life. I know the first week is always a little bit hopefully good, but sometimes a little bit chaotic. So hopefully you're easing into January pretty well. If you're new here, I am Ashley Graham. I am the Chief Investigative Reporter for KSLA News 12, and I also anchor at 6 o'clock, which is where I just came from for KSLA. And I do this every Monday, hoping to bring a little bit more insight to the work that we do, as well as giving you a deeper dive on some of the topics that we cover. But before I get into today's topic, I do want to give you the contact information for the KSLA News 12 investigative team, which is right here. This is the best way to reach us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, story tips, things like that you want us to look into, you can reach us at ksla-investigativeteam@graymedia.com. If you want to email us, you can also reach out on our various KSLA social media platforms, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, places, wherever you get your social media and wherever you find KSLA in the social media world, you can always message us privately. And if you want it to reach the KSLA News 12 investigator specifically, then that's the easiest way to do so. So today I want to get into a follow-up to one of the stories that we covered in our 6 o'clock newscast. Our reporter Peyton Manuel was actually reporting on this story, but we've covered it since last week. And I am just pulling up the articles right now just so you can see what we're looking into. So the backstory here is there was a missing man who is still not been found. He's an elderly man, and the family has reached out to us. They're very concerned about their loved one and wanting to get him home as soon as possible. I say him because I'm trying to pull up Peyton's story just so I'm making sure I'm getting his name absolutely correct. Johnny Hamilton. So I'm going to pull up the story right now, mute the page, and then also cue you guys over using our display here. So give me just a second. Mac Mini. So right now you are looking at Peyton's story on our website right now. Search for missing elderly man continues in Caddo Parish. So they are trying to find, and when I say they, I mean the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. They need your help finding Johnny Hamilton. They say he went missing about a week ago. He is 73 years old. Just some quick details about Mr. Hamilton. He was last seen, according to detectives, around Monday, January 5th in the Rodessa area in that afternoon on January 5th. He was driving a red 2001 Chevy Silverado, according to detectives, and he was last seen wearing black pants and a yellow striped shirt. So he was near a gas station at Rodessa Foods, or getting gas at Rodessa Foods. So I just wanted to scroll through and show you guys what information we have from CPSO. That is the Chevy Silverado they believe that he was driving. One of the things that makes this so urgent, especially for family, is the fact that he has several medical conditions and relies on daily medication. They also believe that at 73, he may be showing early signs of dementia. So that's part of what makes this so urgent, and we really just want to help in any way to get him home. And one of the reasons that I decided to make this a topic of this week's podcast, because we do cover missing people alerts, amber alerts, silver alerts, quite often on the news. You might have seen either articles on social media, or you might have seen it in one of our stories in our newscasts. And we always hope for the best possible outcome, but we realize that a lot of people may be figuring this out for the first time, like figuring out the process of how to report someone missing, especially trying to do it quickly. So in situations like that, time really is of the essence. And so I wanted to dig a little bit deeper and see if we could find a way to focus specifically on the ArkLaTex states, but to give people a comprehensive look at what it takes in order to file, in this case, a silver alert for an elderly person, but just alerts in general. So I'm going to take you back over to our Mac Mini so I can give you a look at a resource that I found for you. This is on the Department of Justice's page, their Office of Justice Programs, and they have a very handy resources page where they already sorted out by state. So super, super helpful if you live in an area like this one where you might have to reach out to multiple agencies or different states, depending on where your loved one might be, where you believe they might have been, where they might have connections, where they may have gone. And they have it nicely sorted for you on the website. So I'm going to go into Arkansas and Louisiana before, and then we're going to take a break, and then I'll come back for Oklahoma and Texas. So that way we're getting all of the different ArkLaTex states. So starting off with Arkansas, brings you down. It's a very convenient website, by the way. It's very, very automated and helpful. So it takes you straight to their, I'm going to do it in a different tab actually. Takes you straight to each state's website. This is for Arkansas Department of Public Safety. And if you go right on the main page, you'll see a sign for specifically silver alerts. So when you go, you can see exactly who has been reported missing, when they went missing, their date of birth. And I kind of parsed through some of the smaller fine print earlier today just so that I could bring you guys this report. But this is for Arkansas. They are able to initiate a silver alert at the request of sheriff's offices, police departments, based on any information that law enforcement have that they could be not only missing, but if the person is elderly, if they are strongly suspected of having some form of dementia according to their caregiver or family member, if they have been adjudicated by a court to be incapable of managing their own personal affairs, like for example, if they have a guardianship in place, or if they have a documented diagnosis of a mental illness, injury, or other condition that causes them to be incapable of making personal decisions. So even if they don't have a formal court proceeding such as a guardianship in place, if they have a documented history or diagnosis of a mental illness that could get in the way of making certain decisions, then that is something that they take into account when deciding should we issue a silver alert for this person. So that will be for specifically Arkansas. I'm going to go back over and page correctly actually to Louisiana. We're going in alphabetical order today. And this website will take you straight to the Louisiana State Police page, and once it opens for me. So I was just clicking through this earlier today the same way I'm clicking through it right now. And they also have, pages for if you want to make a report. And this is, again, what we might see more often is an Amber Alert. But there are people of all ages who can go missing, and that can be incredibly stressful, incredibly fast-paced, because you really want to find people as quickly as possible. So one of the things that I'm going to try and show you, criminal investigations, background checks, and I'm just going to do this as an example too. Like if you can't find anything on that specific website right away, you can just Google your state and say, hey, Louisiana silver alert. It'll take you directly to it. So for example, Louisiana, they will give you a page where they can show you exactly what it takes to issue any kind of alert. So they have the Amber Alert for when they believe a child has been abducted and is believed to be in danger. They also have a level 2 endangered missing a child advisory where they believe that that the case doesn't quite meet Amber Alert criteria, but that there might be some danger involved. There might need to be some immediate assistance. And of course, a silver alert where they are trying to locate missing adults with Alzheimer's disease, dementia, other cognitive impairments. They do all have the same notification system in the United States, but they do not use the same emergency alert system. So you know how when you go on an Amber, or when you receive an Amber Alert on your phone and your phone just starts buzzing and beeping and all those really fast notifications, that won't necessarily happen in every state, and it may not happen at the speed of an Amber Alert, but law enforcement will be putting out information to basically say, hey, let's try to locate this person as fast as possible. That's where you get a lot of the, not only posts to social media pages, but also official advisories that get sent out, especially to news outlets such as us. And so one thing to know about Louisiana specifically is that even if you do have a silver alert issued, it's not necessarily going to interrupt programming like if you see on TV, or it will not utilize the emergency alert system. So you'll get notifications, but you won't get them as blaringly loud or as abruptly as you would for, say, an Amber Alert. So I am going to give us a 2-minute break right now and come back, and we're going to talk about Oklahoma and Texas, but I'm also going to give you tips on what you should have available at your disposal before someone needs to be reported. Like if you know that there is a person in your life who is elderly and may have some sort of cognitive function difference that makes it harder for them to make certain decisions or care for themselves, if there are things you can do right now to prepare just in case you hit the worst case scenario. No one wants anyone to go missing, of course, but we want you to be prepared just in case. So I'm going to give us a 2-minute break and we will be right back with more on ArkLaTex Uncovered. All right, welcome back, and thanks for sticking with me through the break. I'm going to take you right back over to our Mac Mini display. We were just talking about our Louisiana and Arkansas requirements for filling out a silver alert. That's when if someone who is elderly and maybe has impaired cognitive function goes missing, then this is the way that people make a report. So we were just looking at Louisiana's page, and I'll show you just a quick look again for what they have as their criteria. So again, they have to have that cognitive disability, 60 years or older at the time, and their disappearance would have to pose a credible threat to their health and safety. And this was all on the Department of Justice's page, which I showed you earlier. This is where each state, they have linked on their site, and it takes you straight to that state's resources. Now, going in alphabetical order, we have Oklahoma next, and we do cover a small part, so I did want to make sure we included that. Almost clicked on Oregon for a second. Let's take you to Oklahoma's Missing Persons Clearinghouse, and this tells you right away, right in that red lettering, if you want to report a missing person, contact your local law enforcement agency. You will fill out a official missing person report and have a missing person entry made into the NCIC, National Crimes Information Center database. So, let's go. I wrote down some notes earlier on what to expect from Oklahoma. So they do have an Amber Alert system, of course, for children who are believed to be missing and in danger. Their Silver Alert for elderly adults is very similar. They alert the public in different ways, and some of those ways include the highway signs that you might see while you're driving, cell phone alerts, social media posts, and of course reaching out to media outlets to let people know that they might have somebody missing. So, sorry, I just wanted to scroll and show you a little bit of Oklahoma's page. There's a family resource guide here as well that they've provided to try and give people a sense of what they can do and how it works too. I remember looking at this earlier today. So they give you tips on how to work with local law enforcement, how to work with local media. And I'm actually going to refer to this later today, or not later today, later in this stream, to talk about what you can kind of realistically expect if for whatever reason you find yourself in this situation. So we'll come back to this. And then last but not least, we have Texas. So I'm going to take you to Texas DPS's page and Department of Public Safety. And this is, again, where you're going to find information about all the different alerts they have. They have several. They've got an Amber Alert, a Silver Alert, a Blue Alert, Endangered Missing Persons, Clear, Power Outage, Active Shooter, Camo Alert. Well, that one's no longer operational, but lots of different alert systems in Texas. We're going to skip to Silver. And these are some of the questions that they're going to need answered if someone is missing in Texas and you want to report it. They're going to ask if they are 65 or older, or if that person's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. They're going to ask if they have any sort of diagnosed impaired mental condition. Does their disappearance pose a credible threat to the senior citizen's health and safety? And they have to, if you are the caregiver or the family or legal guardian of this missing person, they're going to ask you to provide some kind of documentation, either medical or from a mental health professional, about their condition. Have they looked into an investigation related to that person's disappearance, and have this is the silver alert request within the first 72 hours of that person's disappearance, and also is there any information that they can give to the public, for example, for the highway signs that you might see while you're driving. They will try to get vehicle information, and you'll have to confirm that they were driving that vehicle at the time of their disappearance. So they're not automatically going to put that on the highway in the event that they do issue a silver alert. So and they also put a note right here that says a physician's letterhead indicating the impaired mental condition, date of diagnosis, patient's name, physician's signature is recommended to satisfy that documentation requirement. So I just want to give you a look at what that page looks like if you need an alert activation. If they also have request forms for a silver alert, for example. So this is an example of the form that would have to be filled out from the reporting agency. So you would have to go to your local law enforcement and then fill out that. They would have to help you fill out this request in order to get that silver alert issued. So that takes us through all 4 of the ArkLaTex states, and I did say before the break that I would tell you a little bit about what you can expect or what you can prepare ahead of time if for whatever reason you are maybe a caregiver for somebody, maybe you are a family member who just wants to make sure that your loved one is taken care of. I actually really appreciate this missing persons family resource guide that Oklahoma put together. So I want to go through some of the basics here, and I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but they do have, as part of their law that was passed in 2019, Francine's law, so they gave you basically a checklist in order to navigate the process. So this is something that's worth keeping just in the back of your mind. So you want to make sure you reach out to law enforcement right away. Make sure you keep track of who you talk to at the local law enforcement. You want to figure out the last time, whether it's the date, time, and location that you saw your loved one. You want to write down their physical appearance. If you remember what clothing they were wearing, write that down as well. Any phone numbers for them, any vehicle information that you have, their date of birth, anything that may have stood out to you in terms of recent changes in their behavior. You want to write down, especially if they have a medical condition, you want to write down what those medical conditions are, what their prescriptions are for any medications that they're taking, have a copy of their medical records, maybe even their dental records, and names and office numbers of their doctors. These are all going to be incredibly helpful, and if you can gather these things ahead of time, you are in a much better position to help them move quickly. Also, of course, I say this as someone who works in television, pictures. This is not just for our sake, but of course for law enforcement's sake, so they can get the word out and get as part of the advisory, put a picture of your loved one, hopefully a recent picture, hopefully something that looks like what they would look like if someone found them. In that case, I'm just going to keep reading right here. Make sure you have a list of any blood relatives with contact information for the missing person, and they put in this guide to make sure that you don't disturb their bedroom, including any electronic devices, until law enforcement can come in and do a search. So if you reach out to law enforcement and they decide they're going to come by to where this loved one lives, maybe that's with you, maybe that's somewhere else, try not to go through their bedroom or their personal effects, including trash cans, until they've had a chance to come in and do their search and investigation. I'm going to keep going here through their guide. They do want to have things like their medication needs. Like I said, you want to just have a good copy of their medical records if you can get it. If for whatever reason your loved one has been fingerprinted in the past, it might be good to provide that copy to law enforcement as well. Make sure as you're writing down a description of your loved one, if there are any identifying marks, mannerisms, tattoos even, maybe they don't have them on, maybe you don't have like a picture of their full body, but if you can say, oh, they have a tattoo on their back shoulder or their right shoulder or something to that effect, then that can help law enforcement tremendously as well. And they go on to give numbers for hotlines for different foundations that can help. they can also assist with local law enforcement can also assist you if you want to put together flyers to make sure that they have all the right information too. So it's a very comprehensive guide here for Oklahoma, but I feel like these tips will be helpful in any of our states. So hopefully, and again, this is something where we want to have the best outcome possible for everyone. So we want people to be found right away and healthy and whole. But this is just a way that you can stay prepared in case you never need it. You may never need to search for a missing loved one, and we hope you don't. But if you find yourself in that situation and it's only been a few hours, it really helps to have all of this information ready just in case. So I hope this was helpful, and I appreciate you watching here on ArkLaTex Uncovered. I'm going to close out how we normally do with another look at our contact information, which is ksla-investigative-team@graymedia.com if you want to reach us by email. If you want to reach out to any of the KSLA News 12 social media pages, you are free to do so. Just make sure you're putting that you're trying to reach the KSLA News 12 investigative team, and that will flag it to us so that we can reach you directly. And so that you can reach us directly too. But I do want to say thank you again for being here, and I will see you again next week at 7 p.m.-ish, right after our 6 o'clock newscast. And until then, I will see you next time. Thank you so much, and we're going to send you back over to Local News Live.